Ahoy there, me hearties. This be Captain Silverhook, and you're listening to the Two Old Pirates podcast. Set sail for an open sea of stories, tales, and some really crazy stuff. I expect you to like and subscribe, lest you be walking the plank.
Back. It's Eric
and Vinny,
and we want to go and dive in. Starting season 5. This is starting season 5 already. Can you believe that?
No.
Talk about some of his collectibles, some of the ones that are worth some money, and then we're also going to talk about some of the ones that you guys might have seen when you were kids, or your parents might even. You might have some of these, like, I don't know, maybe in the garage or in the attic or something like that. And if you do, we're not going to go over a ton of them. We're going to do 5 and 5. So we're going to start off with 5 common games that you might have heard of, you might be able to find, you might be able to see in different things. And if you do find these, like at a garage sale, at a 5 and dime, at a Goodwill or something like that, should they pick these up?
If you can get them for a good rate, well, we're going to tell you about what they're worth.
So we're not saying go broke. We're not saying you're not investing in it like you're going online. We're saying if you happen upon one and it's an old person who might need their heart medication.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I have this from my grandson." And you're like, "Wow, that's a so and so. I would pay you $5 for them." They're like, "Take it for $2." And then you turn around and you see that on eBay and other places it's selling for $500. At least you got the money to the old person for their heart medicine, but now you have something that's worth $500.
Yes.
So that's that's maybe a car payment. So we're going to go ahead and start off with, these are 5 kind of common.
So let's get into some of these games that are, I wouldn't call them super, super common, but games that you've probably seen before, that maybe you even own a copy of. Now, one of them, we'll start out with the least expensive one and kind of go up from there. So the first one is Mario Party 3 for the Nintendo 64. Now, if you have it with its original box and its instructions, it's worth about $200.
Which some people would say, Vinny, Eric, that's not that much. Well, the thing is, number one, you probably didn't buy it. Your parents probably bought it. Number 2, an older brother or sister or cousin had it. And so if you have it just laying around, you actually have the actual box and stuff, you could find a buyer online to take it off your hands for $200.
Yeah.
That's better than what the investment was. You actually made money off it. And like I said, if you didn't purchase it, you've made money that you didn't have before.
And here's one, speaking of Mario, Super Mario Brothers from 1985 on the original Nintendo. If you have it with its original box and manual in good condition, it's worth about $250.
So going up a little bit in price, a little bit older game.
A little bit older.
But the thing is, manufactured a lot. So a lot of people might have this. But if you
got
the
Mario.
box and you've got the instructions, if you got all that stuff together and it's not all crinkled and messed up, you're talking about $250. Yeah. That's nothing to sneeze at.
$250 right there. So let's jump up a little bit. Let's move on to 1999 and the Sega Dreamcast. So they released Sonic Adventure. Was the first 3D Sonic the Hedgehog game that was released. And it was a launch title for the Sega Dreamcast. And to commemorate it, Sega made some limited edition releases of the Sonic Adventure game. There are some minor differences between the content of the limited edition release and the main release. Mostly just some bonus stuff you get on the disc if you put it in a computer. But the difference here is that if you have the regular edition of the game complete in its CD case, it's worth about $40. If you have the limited edition game, it's worth $550. Same game, same Sonic, but it's a difference of about $500.
Your next one is one that we kind of argued over, like, should anybody know this? But then we came to the conclusion, people have probably seen this game or have at least heard about it. And it was a Flintstones game that came out for the NES.
Flintstones, The Surprise at Dino Peak.
And I remember even seeing it for rent at certain places and stuff back in the old days.
It's a game that's out there. And apparently, not too much out there, because if you have just... Now, the previous 3 games... We said if you have the original box and the original manual, then it's worth this much. This time around, if you have just the cartridge, no box, no manual, you have just the game by itself, it's worth about $1,000. A Flintstones game.
Yeah, a video game that cost $45 to $50 when it came out is valued at $1,000 now. And that's just without the box. I mean, just a spare, just open games.
And then finally, the most expensive one, you probably heard of this one if you know a little bit about retro video games, Earthbound for the Super Nintendo. It was a role-playing game that was popular in Japan, got localized as Earthbound for North America, and Nintendo didn't have high hopes for this game. Because when they sold it in a really big box that came with the strategy guide for how to play the game and where all the secrets were hidden and everything else. So if you have the whole shebang, if you got the game with its original big box and that strategy guide that it came with, it's $1,800. But don't worry, even if you have just the game by itself, it's still about $350 for just the game. So if you have all the bells and whistles that it came with, because this game, believe it or not, was clearanced out at places like Toys R Us. So it just didn't sell too well, and a lot of copies got clearanced out, but they only made one production run of that game, and it's become kind of a cult classic hit.
Well, that was the 5 that you might have heard of. We could have gone through a list of 1,000 games,
Yeah.
but the thing is, we picked 5 kind of common, and then we wanted to lead that into Vinny's five different games that he owns that are kind of collectible, kind of expensive, not over the top crazy and stuff, but that he has in his own possession. So
Yeah.
I'll turn it over.
All right. So the first one I'd like to show off is a copy. Now, this is a former rental copy, so the label is kind of messed up. But it is Zero, the Kamikaze Squirrel for the Sega Genesis. I only have the cartridge. I don't have the box because this is the rental copy, so boxes usually didn't survive the rental thing. But this game by itself, only the cartridge, is worth about $150. And I would like to draw your attention to this because I bought this at a GameStop on April 28th, 2002, and I paid $1.99 for it. I have here with me, this is a childhood copy. I've had this my entire life, and I'm very protective of it. It's Pokemon. Pokemon Yellow specifically. And you notice it's got Pikachu on the cover, so Pikachu is your starter for this game. Now, I have this is the box, so I've got the box, the manual, the game, I've got it complete. This is worth about $125. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but you gotta realize they made millions of these. This is a really common game. And for it to be so common, yet worth so much, that just goes to show you people are hanging on to their Pokemon games. They don't want to give them up because they were good games back then. They were genuinely good games. And next one is kind of a catch-all. This is a copy of Mega Man 5 for the Nintendo NES. Used to belong to somebody named Jones. Wrote his name on the cartridge. Thanks, man. I really appreciate you devaluing my game. This game is there's 6 on the Nintendo. This one is the most expensive at about $80 to $85 just for this by itself without the box. If you have all 6, the whole collection, both trilogies, what's a 6 called? Hexology?
What is sextuplet?
I think that's 7. Sextuplet is sept.
What is sextuplet?
Maybe that's 6. Is it sexology? Hexology? Hexology? I don't. Is there a term?
We'll just call it the 6th.
Yeah, the double trilogy. There you go. If you have all 6 games, Mega Man 1 through 6, loose without their boxes, you're looking at between $400 and $500 for the whole lineage on the NES. And I have all 6, but I wanted to show off Mega Man 5 because this one's the most valuable one. So when people think about Mega Man, this is the one they go to. And then I got a couple more. This one is Starblade Alpha for the original Sony PlayStation. Starblade Alpha is a updated port of a 1981 Namco arcade game. This game did not sell well, and as such, copies are exceedingly rare. It's worth about $450. I got very lucky. I only paid $5 for this copy of this game, because a local mom and pop rental store was going out of business. They were selling all of their PlayStation 1 games for $5 a piece. So you can bet I went in there and spent like $200 cleaning them out. I got most of my long boxes came from that one purchase in my collection. And I got one more. This one's really special. This one is actually graded because I was serious about this one. Y'all ever heard of Space Jam? Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. Old Mikey J and Bugs Bunny playing a little bit of basketball. This is a basketball game for the PlayStation 1, and this is in a jewel case, not a long box, so this came out a little while later. This was sealed and graded by WATA. They gave it an 8.5 for condition, but the seal quality is A+. And this game, I think I spent $10 on... Okay, I spent like $10 on this somewhere as a joke. Graded, in a graded condition, is worth $1,100.
I'm telling you, some of you guys have things sitting in your attic and your closet that you have no idea how much it's worth.
I got one more. E.T. for the Atari 2600, signed by Howard Scott Warshaw, the man who designed this game in like 6 weeks or however long Atari gave him. This one's not graded because they don't offer services for loose Atari games, so it's in my own case. But this one, the game is worth like $8 loose. Signed by the guy who made it? Who knows? Who knows? The only way to know is to try to sell it, and I don't want to try to sell it, so...
Anyways, we hope that you enjoyed this short
Yeah.
episode over some common games that might be worth something, and Vinny's, and he has more than this, but the thing is we can't do 17 hours of just video games and stuff.
Can't go through everything in my collection.
But I do want him to plug something, because he does something very, very important every single year that a lot of people don't know about, but if we get the word out there and you share it with people and stuff, people will know he's been doing this every single year.
So every year, I'm glad Eric brought this up. Every year, I participate in a charity called Extra Life, and they raise money for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. You may be familiar with that charity. If you go to the gas station and they sell those little paper hot air balloons, they raise money for the children's hospitals. It's the same cause. And 11 years now, I've been a part of this charity, and I've raised almost $10,000 across all of my efforts, and it's all because they saved my brother's life in Corpus Christi at Driscoll Children's Hospital. They literally, his appendix ruptured, he had to get immediate surgery. That was the only option on the table, and he pulled through, and they saved his life. So that's my way of saying thank you, is doing this charity.
So, Two Old Pirates is Eric.
And
Peace
Vinny.
out.
Peace out.
Take it easy, guys.